Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Sergeant Terry Cully. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Crozier, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Sydney James Crozier. Sydney Crozier was born in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales on the 9th of December 1984. He was the fourth and youngest surviving child of Thomas and Hannah Crozier. Sydney grew up in Namurka, a small farming community in northern Victoria. When he was only 7 years old, his mother died suddenly, leaving Thomas alone to run the farm and care for his young children. Little else is known of Sydney's early life. He attended the Namurka State School, but at some point in his teenage years, the family moved back to Kalkan, just south of Wagga Wagga. After leaving school, Sydney worked locally as a farmhand. Sydney enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 12th of January 1915, a month after his 21st birthday. His older brother Richard enlisted 4 days later. Both Sydney and Richard were assigned to the 6th Australian Light Horse Regiment in the rank of trooper. After 5 months of training, Trooper Sydney Crozier left Australia in HMAT Ceramic on the 25th of June, sailing to Egypt for further training. In Egypt, he was reunited with Richard, and the two joined the 6th Light Horse Regiment on Gallipoli on the 2nd of October 1915. The 6th Light Horse played a primarily defensive role during Sydney's time on the peninsula. He was evacuated from Gallipoli on the 1st of December 1915, suffering from jaundice and dysentery. He spent the rest of the month in hospital in Cairo before rejoining the 6th Light Horse at Ma'adi Camp on the 6th of December. The regiment spent the first months of 1916 training in camp in Egypt as part of the newly formed Anzac Mounted Division. While the majority of the Australian infantry battalions left Egypt for France, the Light Horse remained in the region to assist in ongoing fighting against the Ottoman Empire. In April 1916, the 6th Light Horse joined the Allied forces involved in the defence of the Suez Canal. On the 4th of August, the 6th Light Horse was manning outposts at Et Mela when Ottoman forces attacked Romani. The regiment immediately rode out to assist the 1st Light Horse Brigade. On their approach, they came under heavy fire from Turkish machine guns and artillery. Although Sydney survived the fighting unscathed, Richard was shot through the heart and killed almost instantly. Writing home to his father after the attack, Sydney reflected that, "I know he would give his life for the cause again if it was wanted. We would all give our lives." Sydney remained with the 6th Light Horse following Richard's death, engaged on patrol work until early 1917. On the 19th of February, Sydney was admitted to hospital with inflammation in his leg after being kicked by his horse while on duty. He remained in hospital for over a month and following his discharge was temporarily assigned to the 2nd Light Horse Training Regiment to fully recover. Sydney returned to the 6th Light Horse at the start of July 1917 and continued service in Palestine and the Jordan Valley in 1918. The regiment was based around Jerusalem and Amman in February and March 1918, taking part in the failed Amman raid at the end of February before returning to Palestine. A month later, on the 28th of March, the regiment were back outside Amman with A and B Squadron making a dismounted attack from the north on Turkish positions just outside the city. Leaving their horses behind, Sydney and the other men advanced over the open country and were subjected to heavy machine gun fire. They were ultimately forced to surrender as high casualties and Turkish resistance made the objective impossible to secure. During the advance, Sydney was wounded by machine gun fire. A fellow trooper from the regiment recalled that, "When the Turks came to collect us, they drove a bayonet in between his shoulders, wounding him further." Sydney was carried approximately a mile to a train where he was given morphine by the Turkish soldiers to ease his pain. Severely wounded and without medical assistance, Trooper Sydney Crozier succumbed to his wounds early in the morning on the 29th of March. He was 23 years old. Sydney's body and the bodies of 2 other men from the 6th Light Horse were taken and buried by Turkish soldiers near the Amman railway station. His grave was left unmarked and his remains were never recovered. Today he is commemorated on the Basra Memorial in Iraq. His name is also listed on the honour roll on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Sydney James Crozier, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Crozier, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.